Hey everybody, Kimberly here, and sometimes it takes me a little while to get to some games that were made a couple years back as I'm just continually playing new games, older games, games that I haven't actually had a chance to play yet. So for me, discovering that a game that was released in 2019 and I had heard so many things about, lots of mixed reviews and a lot of people saying not really as great as they wanted it to be, then I play it and I have a really great experience with, that means that I had a preconceived notion about a game, and I am very happy to say that I was wrong about Tapestry. I was. I had this idea that, it's imbalanced, and players would say that the civilizations are just so vastly different and asymmetrical that it's almost impossible to balance out their bonuses, whether they start with things or they gain things during the income phases between rounds 2 and 5, or maybe there's just an endgame bonus that's out of this world. That was one thing I heard. I also heard that the figures and the miniatures are just too big and clunky and don't fit on the boards, and your map gets weird and cluttered and it's unclear. So I heard some of those things too, and it's an engine builder and a Civ game that takes about 2 hours to play. Now, I have to say that it did take me about 2.5 hours to get through, and that's fine. I don't mind it. I don't mind spending more time with the game, especially if it's my first or second time through, because we are still figuring out how things work. We are trying new strategies. We are just kind of like diving into it. So if it takes a little longer, that's just my gaming style. That's my gaming group style. There's one person in our group who would love to take a lot less time, and he is outnumbered. So we usually just take more time than the stated box lid. So for me, I just was dealing with a lot of these ideas that this Civ game just wasn't worth it, and I was just wrong. So let me tell you about my experience and why I think if you haven't given Tapestry a chance, and this is just the base game, I'm not talking about any of the expansions, then maybe you should give it a try, and if you have played it, maybe give it another try and check out the balance sheet for these civs to see if there's a way for you to balance out those, because there have been some adjustments, and I know that Jamie Stegmaier has changed the starting bonuses, taking away things or adding things like resources and victory points to make sure that these civs are in balance with each other based on all the players' experiences and comments on Board Game Geek. So there's a really easy civilization adjustment document that you can go to at the website. You can just go to Stonemaier website and find it. And if you get newer versions or newer releases of the game, it actually comes inside the box. So that was updated in 2022. So for me, I think that those balances, they're great. Like, that's a wonderful way to react to players, even though the game has been play tested before release, even though the game has been played through with all these civilizations, there's even more reaction. Okay, maybe this one, civilization is a little bit more overpowered. This one's underpowered. How can we fix that? How can we adjust that to make sure that, you're playing with these asymmetric civilizations, but how can we make them comparable to each other? And I thought it was just fine. I felt like the civilizations we each had a very similar boon or ability that gave all of us an expertise or a specialty or just something really exciting to do that the other players didn't get to do, and I really, really enjoyed it. So in my last game that I played, we had a player who played the Entertainers, and I played with the Alchemists, and another player played with the Isolationists. And so with that combination, I found it interesting that the Isolationist, that player really pushed on military when normally they wouldn't push on military when he's playing a Civ game. He's more tech. So it was interesting to see that strategy and to see him spread out on the board with all of his tokens, and he ended up getting the highest score on the track, which gave him a lot of victory points. He had 6 of the forests connected, and that meant that he got 40 victory points at the end of the game. Did he win? No, he didn't win. It was a really, really strong card. He had a great civilization, and he went just really hard on his particular focus, and I thought that was super cool. Now, I picked the Alchemists because I love rolling dice and getting some random really cool thing, and I love push your luck. And so what I did was in round 2, I get to roll the science die, and I put a token on the science die on this grid, and if I want to keep rolling, I can hopefully not bust. Because if you ever roll the same side of the science die, the same image, you bust and you just get 1 resource. But if you don't press your luck, you can move up 1 step in all of the spaces that you've already rolled on the die without gaining any of its benefits or its bonuses. And so it gives you progress without paying resources, but only if you stop and only if you're lucky. And I thought that was really fun. My first 2 times I rolled, I stopped after 2, and I essentially got 4 movements, 4 progress steps. In the 3rd time I did it in round 4, I got 2, and I wanted to push it. I wanted to push it, and I busted. So I just got a resource, and I was like, okay, I busted. That's just kind of like the point of this civilization. And I wanted to try for 3. And then in the very last round, in 5, I rolled and got the 5 victory point bonus that's stated on my card because I was already at the end of the tech track and I bumped at the edge and I got 5 points. And so it was really, really big. I was like, yay! So I got 5 points, 1 resource, and then 4 movements on random tracks. Now, I would say that the other player with the entertainers, he got to move in a variety of ways on this kind of web tree, and it was 4 activations. And they were essentially known and chosen, but it also takes you down a path where it's not easy to get to another space that you might want later because you're at the bottom versus the top or in some place that you can't navigate. And he got 4 activations, much like I did, but they were chosen instead of mine being random. And so I think that to some degree, if you're just looking at raw numbers and raw victory points, it seems like that one was less powered than mine, and then we had the other one up here with just 40 victory points, which was crazy. So many victory points. But the game, the 2 clustered together, and I ended up winning the game, which was not because of my my alchemist. It just wasn't. So for me, I think the balance isn't necessarily about the actual civilizations. So I thought they were fun. I cannot wait to further explore all the other ones as I continue playing and incorporating in those expansions because, yeah, I'm now on the Tapestry train. I really am. So let me talk more about balance and about the figures and about the dice rolling because I think that it's just a really, really cool, interesting choice as you look at the 4 different tracks that you can move up on and how much they cost and what you get. And there's just a really nice cheat sheet that says, okay, when you move here, you do this. And so turns were just really fast. I felt like the game clip, 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 just kept going. Even though we took longer to play overall, turns were just generally really fast. There were 4 ways to advance. You've got technology, military, exploration, and science. And I have to say that part of my character, part of my civilization was rolling the science die, and I kind of wanted to go, and I loved going to the science place, and I loved rolling that green die. And I know that there have been people who've critiqued, I don't want to play a civilization game that has so much luck, that has so much uncertainty. I liked it. I liked it so much. And so for me, that was just a lovely feature. And that was the only place where you really had that kind of luck. Now, I do want to talk about the battle dice. When you put one of your pawns out on the board onto a hex, you get to roll 2 dice. And so you roll them and you get to have one of the dice's value, which could be victory points or it could be a resource. And it was a nice choice. And every time we all rolled the dice, for the most part, it was just something really good. Like, it wasn't bad. Okay, you rolled 4 victory points instead of the 7, which was the highest you could get without getting the hex symbol, which is how many places on the board do you actually have conquered, which could get up to 8, 9, depending on how militaristic you've been in the game. But that's good for you. You want to roll the hex because, oh my gosh, now I can get 8 points. So, yeah. It's good. It's just good. And the 3 points from 4 to 7, to me, doesn't feel like a super make it or break it. And I also like having the option of taking a resource versus the victory points because early on in the game, you're resource poor, and having just one resource moves you further up a track that then gets you another resource that gets you this, and then you move somewhere, gets you that, and gets you that, and gets you that. And it has these wonderful cascading turns. I watched my opponent take 5 turns after I did my second income phase, which means that we all do income first, get a little bit of resources, not much, in 4 different types, much like you have the 4 different branches of your trees, your tracks. And my opponent to my left went out first. It went around the table, came to me, and then I went out. And we did our income so that we could do our next round of, putting out all of our stuff. Well, then I saw the other guy go and go and go. And he was just always getting a resource here, paying a resource, getting a thing there, going out on that, doing this and doing that. And it just blew my mind because this game will time out for everybody around the same time, but players are taking their income phase at different turns because it all depends on how long you want to do your phase before you just start out of stuff. And then you just have to get income. Now, most of the game is just players advancing on tracks and paying the necessary resources and gaining the action or the benefit. And I like too that there are bonus opportunities. If you pay extra stuff, you can get something cool. And so you're always just at the bare bones. You barely have enough stuff to do things, and you really just have to figure it out. It's a really lovely puzzle, and I think all the benefits and the bonuses have a variety of uses and benefits to players at certain times in their game. Now, there are some other really cool cards too. You have Tapestry Cards, and those you get to play one of in rounds 2, 3, and 4. So you only get to play 3 Tapestry Cards in the entire game, but those Tapestry Cards let you do fantastically cool things. And you're really going to have a nice choice. So it just depends on what your game is. And I played what I thought were really cool Tapestry Cards and got awesome stuff. And then I saw my opponents do the same thing. And I'm like, where did that card come from? That's the coolest. So Tapestry Cards let you have an ability when you play it or throughout that particular round. So if you're in round 3 and you played at the start of round 3 for you, it will end when you play down, you go into income and play down your next Tapestry card for round 4. But Tapestry Cards are just cool and sometimes rule breakers, And I think those are just really fun cards to have. And then tech cards. I think tech cards are cool and I don't care really what they say. There's a picture of something like penicillin or just interesting other features. You can get cool landmarks, like Wall Street, I think was a tech card that I invested in, which gives you a chance to build another landmark on your city tile. But they're just fun. And I don't care that I'm not so interested in the theme as much as what does this card give me when I upgrade it to the circle bonus and when I upgrade it again to the square bonus. And that's just me not necessarily caring too much about how the theme fits in because this is just a real engine builder and civ building game, investing in these tracks and just really maximizing. Because I discovered in my plays that you can really only get to 1, maybe 2 end of 2 tracks. Okay, I find that how do you get to the end of all 4 of them? I don't even know if that's, oh boy, maybe in a future game I can do that. But you really have to focus. Are you going to be a science-y civilization? Are you going to be an exploration or a military civilization? Or are you going to do tech? And for me, I really focused on tech and had a great time getting all this cool tech. And scoring it and getting to the end of that track and getting to start over in another track. Oh, and I was like, this is the coolest. And then my second strongest was science because I told you I really like rolling that die and I love I love the unpredictability of it. And I think to some degree civilizations aren't built on this and then this and then this and then that and this will happen. I think there can be just a little bit of room for, woo, something exciting happened and you didn't necessarily plan for it, but now you get to maybe adjust your strategy and maybe take a new focus because something happened with science and it was just exciting. So I want to talk about all those buildings and landmarks and things because they fit just fine. I mean, I don't know what people are complaining about. they fit in the square, and when you look at where they come from on the blueprints, it says this takes up a 2x3 space. And then you go and take it, and it fits in a 2x3 space just fine. It actually has a little bit of room on the edge so that you can actually see the original grid on your city map, like the squares and stuff. And so I didn't have a single problem knowing where all my columns and my rows and my filled in 3x3 boxes in my city grid were filled up. And so I just didn't have a problem. I thought the buildings were fine. I love the different heights. I love the little squares. You have the little tiny 1x1s that are on your player mats that go towards all of your stuff. There are the markets, the houses, the farms, and the armories, and those associate, of course, with those 4 tracks. And so you're putting out those little teeny houses, but you're also putting out all the big ones, all the fun things that you get. If you get that threshold, if you cross into H2, H3 and H4 on the map first, you get the landmark. So there's a race. Much like in a lot of civilization games, the race to get to something here first gives you a super cool bonus that nobody else gets. I love that. And so I had no problems with the buildings. And you know what? I have no problems with the colors. I think the colors are just fine. I think the artwork here is just fine. And I know that there are some people online complaining about the look or the, pattern or comparing it to Scythe. It's fine. There's absolutely nothing here that is eyesore. And you know what? Even if it is an eyesore, I still love you because I love Ethnos. And I think Ethnos is just kind of bad looking. And I'm not sure I like the plastic pieces that fit on top of each other for the area control and area majority on the map. And the cards, meh. The board, ugh. The design, but it's a great game. It's just a great game, and I'm not gonna ding Ethnos. I'm not gonna not play Ethnos because it could be prettier. And no, I'm just gonna love it. So I think the look here in Tapestry is fine, and the buildings came they came painted. Great. Then I don't have to do it myself, and it adds color and it adds flavor and it adds character, and it just is nicer to look at than just plain, one color, chromatic whatever. It's nice. And I think I just, nothing to complain about here. Seriously. Like, any look, critique that people have, I don't know, maybe their standards are just way too high. Now, it doesn't mean I can't see good artwork and love beautiful things. I can, and I do. But I'm not dinging Tapestry for anything related to its looks or the fact that it does actually fit into the player boards. So, I will say, I was wrong. I was wrong about Tapestry. I really like it, and I like what it offers players, and I cannot wait to continue digging into it, playing with different player numbers, which means that 1 through 3 you play on one board, which is a smaller island, and 4 through 5 you flip it over and play on the side that has more space for players to grow and to explore. So I want to keep doing that, and I want to keep trying out all the new civilizations because there are a lot of them. There are a whole bunch of them, and they play with different styles and with a different focus. And so that's what I'm looking forward to. And I'm also really looking forward to incorporating those expansions soon. So thanks for just tuning in and staying with me. I think it's just good. And it's so surprising and it's delightful to be surprised, to be honest. I'm very pleased that I can share that, yeah, this is staying, this is going to be in our collection, and I'm really happy that Tapestry is super fun. I love a good Civ game, and I love an engine building game with asymmetrical start abilities. And, ooh, that science die. Ooh, I love it so much. Okay, you may not, but boy do I. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you next time. Bye.